They laughed when they saw the mangled wreck of alien steel embedded with human tech. They wouldn't be laughing when they learned the truth. Captain Jake Johnson gripped the controls of the Magellan tighter as the small exploration vessel skimmed over the uncharted planet's bleak gray surface. An impossible human distress beacon pulsed on his display, originating from the twisted ruins of a massive alien starship sprawled across the barren plain below. No human had ever set foot in this distant sector on the fringes of known space. The distress call had to be a mistake, but Jake had a duty to investigate. He had to know why human technology was entangled with the alien derelict. He had to uncover the truth, however shocking it might be. Humanity itself could be its stalker. Jake landed the Magellan near a gaping chasm in the alien hull. He checked the charge on his sidearm, sealed at his precious suite, and descended the landing ramp into the unknown. Orange emergency lights strobed deep within the alien wreckage, drawing Jake forward like a moth to flame. The human signal grew stronger. Jake's heart pounded. Sweat slicked his brow. At the heart of the ruined ship, he found it. An ancient, heavily modified human warp core jury rigged into the alien reactor, powering the enemy vessel. The horrifying implications crashed through Jake's mind, but before he could make sense of it, a sound behind him. He spun, raising his gun. A tall blue alien aimed an energy weapon at Jake's chest. The alien's pressure suit was ripped and scarred. Fury and fear warred in its luminous eyes. "You human," it snarled in broken English. "Why are you here? What want you with Vauxhall ship?" Jake raised his free hand, keeping the other on his gun. "I'm Captain Jake Johnson. I followed a human distress beacon. I want to help." "No want human help." The alien rage. "You did this. Your fault." It gestured at the human technology. "No trick me. You sabotaged Vauxhall ship. You trapped Vauxhall here." The alien's finger tightened on the trigger. Jake tensed, ready to fire, ready to finally get some answers or die trying. A flash of blinding light, searing heat. Jake hurled himself to the side, hitting the deck hard as a plasma blast scorched the bulkhead behind him. The air reeked of ozone and molten metal. He rolled to his feet in one fluid motion, aiming down the sights of his sidearm. 2 pulls of the trigger, 2 flashes of blue, 2 stun rounds slammed into the alien's center mass. The alien crumpled, his weapon skittering across the deck plating. Jake advanced cautiously, keeping his gun trained on the fallen foe. A quick kick sent the alien's rifle spinning into the shadows. Jake crouched and pressed armored fingers against the alien's neck, feeling for a pulse. It was there, slow but steady. The stun rounds had done their job. Jake patted down the alien's pressure suit, searching for anything that might shed light on the situation. His fingers closed around a hard rectangle, an ID badge. He held it up to his helmet, squinting at the alien script. The ship's computer scanned the text and translated it into English on his HUD. Primus. Jake read aloud. The alien had a name. Primus groaned, his eyelids fluttering. Jake hauled him into a sitting position and snapped a set of restraints around his wrists. "Start talking," Jake growled. "Why is there human tech on your ship?" Primus shook his head groggily, his eyes slowly focusing on Jake's visor. When he spoke, his voice was laced with pain and defeat. "Ship crashed here, 1 orbit ago. Ambushed by rival clan. Warp drive destroyed. No way to return to Obasari space. No way to call for aid." The alien's gaze drifted to the jury-rigged human warp core. Detected energy readings from underground structure. Ancient human settlement long abandoned. Scavenged technology to repair ship. But human machines, primitive, insufficient, could only restore basic systems. Jake rocked back on his heels, his mind reeling. If what Primus said was true, then humanity had a presence in this sector centuries ago, but there were no records of such an early expansion. No documents, no maps, no evidence at all. The implications were staggering. He reached down and helped Primus to his feet. The alien swayed unsteadily, but remained upright. "Seems like we have a lot to discuss," Jake said slowly. My people don't know we had an outpost here. You might be able to fill in the gaps in our history." Primus' eyes narrowed, suspicion warring with desperation on his angular features. Jake pressed on. "I'll make you a deal. You and your crew tell me everything you know about the humans who were here before. In exchange, I'll have my engineers use our modern tech to repair your ship fully. We'll help you get back home." For a long moment, Primus said nothing. Then, grudgingly, he nodded. "I accept human, but do not think this makes us friends." Jake allowed himself a small grim smile behind his visor. It was a start. Jake and Primus huddled over a flickering console, poring through fragmented data files recovered from the ruined human outpost. The console's cracked screen cast an eerie glow over their faces as they scanned through reams of corrupted records. "I can't make sense of half of this," Jake muttered, rubbing his eyes. "But from what I can piece together, it looks like humans were out here in 4 centuries ago. Colonies, mining operations, research stations, we had a major presence in this sector." Primus nodded, his brow furrowed. But then something happened, something bad. He pointed a clawed finger at a series of garbled transmissions. "Look at this. Urgent distress calls from multiple settlements all around the same time. They're talking about an attack, an invasion, something they call the Void Wraiths." A chill ran down Jake's spine as he read the broken, desperate messages. Void Wraiths. What the hell are those? Some kind of alien threat? I don't know. But whatever they were, they hit hard and fast. It's like the human presence in this sector just vanished overnight. Jake scrolled to the outpost's final transmission. The words were fragmented and glitchy, but the urgency in them was clear. "Emergency evacuation. Last stand. Void Wraiths unstoppable. God help us all." He sat back, his mind reeling, an ancient unknown enemy that wiped out entire human colonies centuries ago. But why was there no record of this in Earth's histories? Primus tapped at the console, bringing up a new set of data, the Voxeri clan archives. "I think I might know why," he said grimly. Jake leaned in, scanning the alien records. At first, they seemed to detail a typical cycle of clan warfare and shifting alliances, but as he looked closer, a disturbing pattern emerged. "These gaps," he said, pointing to strange lulls in the records where all clan activity seemed to cease, "they happen every few centuries. It's like the clans just vanish for decades at a time, then reappear later as if nothing happened." Primus nodded, his eyes haunted. "I noticed that too. And look at the timing. Those gaps seem to line up with the human disappearances." A sick feeling settled in Jake's gut as the pieces started to come together. "You don't think the Void Wraiths," Primus finished. "What if they're behind it all? All? What if they've been manipulating my people, stoking our wars, making us fight each other for thousands of years?" Jake stood abruptly, pacing the room. "But why? What's their agenda, and where do they go in between?" Primus shook his head. "I don't know, but I know this. My clan came to this sector because of the war. We've been fighting for so long. We can't even remember why we started." His voice dropped to a whisper. "We're tired, Jake. Tired of the endless blood and death. If there's even a chance these Void Wraiths are behind it all, I have to know. We have to stop them." Jake placed a hand on Primus's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity between former enemies. "You're right. This is bigger than humanity, bigger than the Valkyrie. If we don't stand together against this threat, we'll fall alone." He looked out the viewport at the Vauxhall ship, its hull nearly whole again thanks to the tireless efforts of both crews working together. "We'll get your ship repaired and get you home, but this fight is just beginning. We need to bring this evidence to our leaders, forge an alliance, find out what the Void Wraiths really are and how to stop them before it's too late." Primus clasped Jake's arm, his grip strong. "Agreed. My clan will fight beside you in this, human. Let us hope it is enough." The console pinged, indicating the Vauxhall ship was fully operational. It was time to leave this bleak rock and carry their dire warnings to the stars. Jake and Primus walked side by side out of the wrecked starship, united by a common purpose. Around them, human and Vauxhall crew members hurried about, running final checks and preparing for liftoff. With a roar of engines, the Vauxhall ship rose from the planet's barren surface, the Magellan close behind. The two vessels angled for the stars, ready to make the warp jump back to inhabited space. But as the ships aligned for the jump, their sensors screamed warnings. Jake paled as he read the long-range scans. Multiple gravitational anomalies closing fast, massive ones. That's no natural phenomenon. He looked to Primus, seeing his own fear reflected in the alien's eyes. "Hurts them," Jake whispered, his blood running cold. "The Void Wraiths, they're coming." Space itself twisted as the Void Wraiths emerged from the depths of the abyss. Colossal spectral shapes, they trailed inky black tendrils behind them like the tattered cloaks of death itself. Where their forms passed, the very fabric of the void seemed to shudder and recoil. The Vauxhall ship and Magellan opened up with every weapon they had. Lances of searing light stabbed out at the wraiths, pulsing lasers and arcing electricity clawing at their ethereal flesh. But the beams sank into the wraiths' hides and vanished, devoured by the nothingness that dwelt within. With each strike, the wraiths only swelled larger, drinking in the energy directed against them. "It's not working," Primus snarled. "We're just making them stronger. Concentrate fire on the lead wraith." Jake barked into the comm. "Pour it on." A storm of weapons fire converged on the foremost creature, a blistering onslaught of raw power. For a moment, it looked like even the Void Wraith would be overwhelmed. Explosions blossomed across its form, tearing ephemeral flesh asunder. With a keening wail that shook the bones of every crewman, the Wraith came apart, spectral ichor spinning away into the void. But as it perished, its body crumpled inwards, a sudden shocking implosion of darkness. The black hole it left behind greedily dragged its brethren in, capturing them in its inescapable gravity. Well, warnings blared on the bridges of the Magellan and the Vauxhall ship as the anomaly latched onto them as well. The ships groaned as space-time warped around them, their hulls protesting the immense tidal forces threatening to tear them apart. "The anomaly's pulling us in," Primus roared. "We need to jump to warp now, or it'll rip us to pieces." "Belay that," Jake cried. A desperate idea had clicked into place. "I've got a plan. That jury-rigged warp core, if we flood it with power right as we jump, the sudden surge could cause a massive distortion in warp space. We could tear a rift open and trap the wraiths in a collapsing pocket of subspace." "Are you insane?" Primus gaped at him. "The stresses would tear our ships apart. And if we don't, the wraiths will tear apart the galaxy." Jake snapped. "We need to do this." Primus hesitated for a split second, indecision mooring on his face. But as the bridge around them screamed and bucked, displays shattering and bulkheads crumpling, he barked the order to comply. The Magellan and the Vauxhall ship dove for the heart of the anomaly, warp drive spinning up to full power. Jake's fingers flew over the console, manually triggering a massive power surge into the warp core. The core detonated. A blinding white flash erupted from the Vauxhall ship, searing Jake's eyes even through the view screen's filters. For an instant, he glimpsed something beyond, an infinite sea of utter darkness, dotted with twisted, indescribable shapes. The Void Wraiths, caught in the rift's inexorable pull, vanished into that abyss with shrieks of impotent rage. Then the rift slammed shut with a concussive burst of energy and light. The anomaly collapsed, the wraith's death throes sealed away in a forsaken pocket of subspace. Jake blinked away the afterimages, seared into his retinas. The Vauxhall ship was adrift, but intact. He turned to the sensor console, praying he'd see the Magellan alongside them. But the scopes showed only wreckage. The Magellan, caught too close to the rift's edge, had crumpled like a tin can in the gravitational upheavals of the collapsing portal. Her heavy hand landed on Jake's shoulder. He turned to see Primus, his expression somber, but filled with gratitude and respect. "Her sacrifice saved us all," the Valkyrie said solemnly. You will be remembered as an honored friend of the Voxari people. I swear I will carry your mission to your human brethren. Your death will not be in vain." Jake nodded, not trusting himself to speak. He looked out at the drifting debris that had been his ship, his crew, his friends, but their sacrifice had been worth it. The void wraiths were gone. The galaxy was safe, for now at least. Generations would pass. The alliance Jake and Primus forged would grow into a bond as strong as steel, holding humanity and the Voxari together against all the horrors of the cosmos. The name of Jake Johnson and the crew of the Magellan would never be forgotten, the heroes whose courage sealed the void wraiths away for all time. But in the deepest black of space, dark whispers still echoed. The prison that held the wraiths was weakening, cracking, failing. The abominations were clawing their way back into reality, more prepared than ever to face the weapons and wiles of humans and Voxari alike. Their return was coming. It was only a matter of time. Centuries passed, the alliance between humans and Voxari growing ever stronger. Their combined ingenuity gave rise to marvels of engineering, science, and art that elevated both races to heights undreamed of. Voxari clan worlds and human colonies alike became beacons of progress, harmony, and enlightenment, the old enmities and suspicions fading into history. But even in this golden age, darkness stirred at the edges of known space. Whispers began to circulate of ships vanishing, of colonies going silent. At first, such incidents were dismissed as mere anomalies, the hazards of an ever-expanding frontier. But as the disappearances mounted, a pattern emerged, a creeping dread that could no longer be ignored. Zaylan Jackson, commander of the Joint Human Voxali Task Force and scion of the legendary Captain Jake Johnson, stood on the bridge of his flagship, the VSS Concordia. His brow furrowed as he studied the star maps, each red marker a lost ship, a silent outpost. The void beyond the Allied territories had taken on an ominous cast, an abyss that seemed to hunger. "Set course for the Tartarus sector," Zaylan ordered, his voice grave. "We'll start our search there." As the fleet plunged into the uncharted depths, they found only desolation. Drifting hulks, once thriving stations, now empty and cold. Upon each ruin, the same unsettling marks, scars of an unknown catastrophe. It was aboard one of these lifeless vessels that they discovered it, a distress beacon still guttering with fading power. Zaylan felt a chill as the message played, a fractured voice laced with static and terror. "They're here, living shadows, consuming everything, can't escape." The transmission crackled into silence, leaving a pall of horror on the bridge. Zaylan clenched his jaw, a grim realization settling in his gut. "The void wraiths," he whispered. "They've returned." The task force raced back to Allied space, desperate to raise the alarm. But even as they hurtled through the stars, the darkness was spreading. Frantic distress calls lit up the comm channels, reports of entire worlds falling silent, of star systems swallowed by an inexorable tide of shadow. Zaylan stood before the combined human and Voxali fleets, a formidable armada mustered in haste. Looking out over the sea of faces, human and Voxari, united in their resolve, he raised his voice to the heavens. "Today we make our stand. Today we fight for the light of all free species. Let the void wraiths come. We will show them what it means to face the might of our alliance." And come they did. A churning maelstrom of hungry dark, a cancer on the cosmos itself. The battle was joined, the starfield alight with the fire of ships, the silent screams of shattering worlds. Zaylan fought with a ferocity that would have made his ancestor proud, his ship darting and wheeling amidst the chaos. But for every void wraith they fell, a dozen more seemed to rise from the abyss. It was a losing battle, and Zaylan knew it. Despair was closing in when the message came, a quantum-entangled transmission from the deepest vaults of Earth, a set of coordinates and a cryptic phrase, "The Janus key awaits." With a heavy heart, Zaylan gave the order. The bulk of the fleet would jump to those coordinates, a blind leap into the unknown. He and a handful of ships would remain, buying time with their lives. As the fleet winked out, Zaylin watched the sensors in numb horror. They weren't heading toward salvation, but into a graveyard of ancient ships, tombs still in the void. But there, amidst the drifting dead, a glimmer of hope, a vast alien ring pulsing with eldritch energy. As the fleet neared, the ring flared to brilliant life, seizing the ships in tendrils of blinding light and pulling them into a swirling vortex at its heart. In a flash they were gone, the mysterious gate going dark once more. On the bridge of his crippled ship, Zaylin smiled sadly as the void wraiths closed in, the hungry shadows engulfing all. With a final defiant roar, he overloaded his work core, the dying light of his ship a last beacon against the encroaching night. Across the galaxy, the void wraiths prevailed, snuffing out suns and civilizations, until only darkness reigned in a lightless, lifeless cosmos. But beyond the veil of space and time, past the mysterious Janus Gate, a flicker of hope endured, a promise that light would one day return to banish the shadows once and for all. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.